Hey guys, I'm Kit,
Austin,
and we're coming to you live again, Neck Roots. This is another podcast on a snowy day, man.
dude, it's crazy weather out there.
You almost had to put the tracks on the rig to get in today, huh?
No kidding, man. That hill coming down is pretty slippery.
Yeah, so we're getting pounded with snow, but you know what? We're also going to pound you with some good stuff.
Yeah.
Austin and I have been talking lately about prioritizing.
Yeah, and how that affects our time, right?
Yeah, just the word priority. It's like, man, that goes so many different ways.
It does, right? And there's so many different aspects of our lives, right? Probably got work, you got family, you got friends, you got your you time, right? Whatever it is that you're doing, and just trying to figure out what goes where, right?
Yeah.
Can be confusing at times, right? I think I found for me there's been different times in my life where certain things take priority over others, and my life has gone differently depending on what I prioritize. And I think that's kind of one of the things that we want to hit on today is how do you maximize your life and maximize your time with your priorities?
Yeah. And I think we're pulled so many different directions, and this is a hot topic. This is so important because we have so many responsibilities, right?
Yeah.
And in a family unit, for example, you have work, you got career, you got school, you got kids that have sports or other activities, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's friends or this or that, they've got to be taken here or there, and you got to keep track of them, right? I mean, it's a lot easier to keep track of them nowadays with the phones, but at the same time, you got to keep track of where they're at on their phones too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, they might be
Absolutely.
physically down at the YMCA, but they might be halfway across the world, on the phone. And so there's so many different things that pull so many different directions. And so, as you prioritize your checklist for the day, like you do at work, right? What's the most important thing to accomplish today? Whether it's work or family, you also have to prioritize those things that come up, right?
Yeah.
And balance it. And it's tough to be well-rounded and keep that spiritual, physical, and mental, emotional, all those things in check, man. This is you feel like you're juggling bowling balls.
Exactly. And the other thing too is, you can't do 100 things. You can't have 100 things on your list, right?
Right.
In fact, my dad talked to me about this with regard to work, right? Because I felt like I just kept getting these things and feeling really overwhelmed. He's like, listen, man, it's like 5 things. You've got 5 things on your list. And Neck Nation, I think that we do the same thing. We put 5 things on our list.
It's hard to do 11.
If something needs to be added, then something's got to go, right? Don't overburden yourself. This is about maximizing the time, right? Because we've already established that time is like the most precious thing that we have possession of, right?
It is.
If we've really got possession of it, but it's the most important thing that we have. And who we give it to and what we give it to, right, really needs some consideration. And so I'm thinking about this, right? And with regard to family, there's different priorities within the family, right? Like you mentioned, you've got priorities with your kids. You've got priorities with the wife or with the girlfriend or with the, whatever it is. And then on top of that, you got priorities, with your friends or whatever it is. You're going to hang out. Well, I don't know, right? You do something Friday or something like that. Just wherever those priorities lie, are you getting the most out of those? Are those priorities giving the most back to you, right?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes you can mix them up. Like my friends used to always get sick and tired of saying, hey, do you want to go bass fishing? Hey, do you want to go dog hunting, shoot coyotes or whatever? Or shoot rabbits and I'd always say, no.
Yeah.
And then they figured it out. They're like, your kids can come. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I make time for that.
Yeah.
They figured out what that priority was. And then my kids ended up being friends with my friends, and sometimes they'd go without me.
Yeah.
Right? They'd be like, well, if you can't go, then what's your kids doing?
What's the boys doing?
Yeah. We need someone to rig the bait. So they'd go shoot pot guts or go shoot dogs or go bass fishing without me. There's several times when they've done that. And it's awesome because you can go spend time with a good friend, and you can do it while you're with your
boys,
kids as well.
Kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember when we went dog hunting one time?
Oh, yeah.
Right? My buddy took us out, and he does predator control on a bunch of these big ranches, and usually he can find dogs. We didn't find any dogs that day, but we had fun.
We did.
But the
boy came out with us, man.
Yeah, my son was with me, and it's just like he'd rather be with us out shooting dogs and leveling up on the video game, and it's awesome. It's fun, but that's That's a great way to prioritize. Sometimes you can let things like
blend.
Yeah, blend them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Just like blended family, you got to find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
You can blend those relationships between those activities or extracurricular things with, I mean, sometimes it might not be age appropriate to take them or whatever, but
Yeah.
sometimes you can.
Yeah, I've got an example of that. So we recently just got the kids dirt bikes, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get back to my roots and get back to racing, which we'll post some stuff on social media here in the next week because I got to run down to California to a national race, right, on the 21st. But so we got the kids dirt bikes, and so take the kids out for their very first time ever. I mean, they've ridden on my bike with me around the neighborhood, whatever, but took them out, and I was able to enjoy that with them. And even my wife, she got on the old KTM 350 there, and she rode that around a little bit. But she rode a WR 250, which is like a more of a trail purpose bike, so not as much of a ripper. And she loved it. So I got the wife loving the dirt bikes. I got the kids loving the dirt bikes. This is all something we can do together. So I get my me time, my throttle therapy, because I can go out and bust out a ride. And then I get to spend time with the family, and we all get to enjoy it and do things we love. And as you were talking about your boys, Kit, we've said this before, that when you decide to become a parent, there is nothing more important in your life than raising your kids. Like that becomes your new purpose. And there's something that you told me a little while ago, and it was, you had worked all day long. You've been up at, 3 in the morning on the job site by 4 in the morning. You worked from 4 in the morning until 5:30 at night, 6 o'clock at night, and you got home and your boy was there. He got home from school. And he says, "Hey, Dad, can we go skiing?"
Yeah.
And you were like, in your mind, you're like, "Dude, I'm dead tired. I don't want to go ski. I don't want to do any of that." But, your boy had asked you, wants to spend time with you, regardless of what had happened, throughout the day. Yep. You told him, "Yeah, let's load up and let's go." Yep. And that's priorities, right? Yeah. That's priorities. And I think you also realize, for those of us that have kids or thinking about having kids, it's not an endless amount of time, right?
Not. It goes so fast.
Yeah,
man.
You tell me 18 summers.
Yeah,
right?
I don't look at it like I got 18 years with my boys because I don't go to parent teacher.
Yeah, you're not sitting through school with them.
No, but during that summertime, obviously during wrestling season, it's during school.
Yeah.
We go to all that stuff. But I'm just saying, if did I go to parent teacher? No, not so much. They probably thought they only had one parent. But during the summer, they were with me nonstop. And I did. I looked at it like, hey, I got 18 summers with these boys, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
that's the time.
And you got to maximize it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was thinking about this, Austin, and there's not a lot of things. There actually is a lot of things we can control in this life, right?
Yeah.
And prioritize. And there's two things that we can't: the day we're born and the day we die.
Yeah.
Right? We can't control that.
Yep.
And we don't know what the distance between being born and checking out are. We don't know what that distance looks like.
Yeah.
All we know is if we can, only thing we can control is what we do at that time in between.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's why priorities are so heavy and so important, because we have to prioritize in between that time, because we don't know what that distance is.
Yeah.
Right? We don't control that.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to fill it up with the things that mean the most.
Yeah.
And going back to this idea of make sure you give your time to priorities that are going to give back to you. Right.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about, in previous episodes where, we focus on ourselves. We need to better ourselves. But one way to better yourself is also to focus on others, right?
Yeah.
Let others in, help others, right? And it's not a bad idea to spend your time helping others become what they need to become, because in reverse, you become what you need to become, right?
Yep.
So
it's really good to look outward and not be so focused inward.
Yeah.
Because the only thing you see is blinders, and you see what you need to do, and you don't see what others are needing or what they need to do. And a good example of that is, and we've all had a friend or an associate, or we've heard that someone gets cancer or some terminal illness where they have X amount of time to live.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me, and I'm guilty of this as well, but what's interesting to me is to see their mind shift. Because I have a friend that, they said, "Man, you got 4 to 6 weeks." And that friend quit the job and traveled and served people and helped people and did some things that they wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of the life we lose in living, and that is we just go through the motions all the time, And it's like, why does it take something so drastic to make such a drastic change to focus on us or to focus on others, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
or to start checking off your bucket list.
If I told you, hey man, you got 100%, bro, you got four weeks to live. Okay, you might make it 5, but you're between 4 and 6, right?
Yeah.
And it's guaranteed you're checking out.
Yeah.
Right? You're shutting down in 4 to 6 weeks. What would you do? Would you be like, well, that's a suck sandwich, you know? Would you just go to work and keep doing what you're doing?
Oh man, I'd try and make the most of it. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I'd keep going to work. I need that life insurance payout for my family, right? but yeah, man, you'd make the most of the time. You'd spend it with those that mean the most
Right.
to you, and you'd spend the time doing the things that, you know, make memories while you got the time to make memories.
Right.
Right.
And so I think when you look at those 18 summers, when you look at, we don't control the distance between birth and death, right?
Yeah.
We can only control how we prioritize and what we do and categorize as important during that time. All of a sudden it starts to come into reality. If you put yourself in that person that you've heard that story's shoes,
Yeah.
and they make a drastic change and they spend time with those they love and they get as much time as possible and they, you know, let things go and they hug it out and they do all these things that are so important before they check out so they have no regret.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, there's a song, it's like live like you're dying, and it's true, right? It's hard sometimes because we get, you know, in that motion and that momentum and that routine, and it's like routine, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good way to reflect, and that'll put your priorities into check real quick and in a hurry if you heard that and it was for real, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a balance to it, right? So you talked a little earlier about responsibilities, right? And the responsibilities are going to be on our priorities list, right?
For sure.
Got to pay the bills, got to take care of the family, make sure you got food to eat, clothes to wear, roof over the head, right?
Yeah.
You've got those responsibilities, and somewhere on your list, somewhere in your 5, right? Whatever you do to provide that for your family, that's got to go in there, right? And we've got these responsibilities, but it's a balance, right? So during the time that you're not taking care of that, right? And try not to let that be a 16-hour-a-day type deal or a 12-hour-a-day type deal. Remember, your time is precious, but don't wait till you're on your deathbed or until you know your time is going to be up to hit up your bucket list, right? I mean, start getting after it right now. The phrase came to my mind as we're talking about this. You know, you call up your buddies or whatever and you say, hey, what's up? What are you doing? Oh, just killing time. It's like, well, really, that time's just killing you, man.
Yeah.
You ain't killing that time. It's taking a toll on you. And we, you know, sometimes it's just a figure of speech. But I think, you know, back for me, I certainly have a problem with this, but I spend a lot of time doing jack, right? Doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
Watching TV. I mean, typically we just spend some time with my wife watching a movie, right? And that's some bonding time, and that's priorities. But there's other times where I'm just like, oh man, I'm just going to sit down for a little bit and whatever. Decompress, which isn't bad to decompress, but only decompress for, you know, here's one. We talked about getting your head out of your apps. How much time are you spending on your phone looking at other people's lives?
Yeah.
Looking at what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not a good use of time.
No, and I know someone that would say, and it was true. They would look at this and look at that, and it was, you know, therapist this and therapist that, and it was all good stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can go look at someone else's story, and like, if you read a positive story, it helps you for a minute. But when you embody it and live it and then put what you've learned into action, now all of a sudden you're writing your own story and you're living your own story. And it's like, when you look at those things to uplift you, I think that uplift only lasts a minute. But when you put that uplifting thing into action, then it transforms you. And so there's a difference between being busy and being productive, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference between looking at something, watching something, listening to something, and putting it into action. It's the same thing, right? And I think it'll get your mind right when you see those positive things, but sooner or later that rubber's got to meet the road to where we go, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith, man, and I'm going to put this to work, and I'm going to try this, and I'm going to do this, right?
Yeah.
And you start, instead of living vicariously through other people that you don't know, you put those things into your own life and you start living, right? Yeah. And so I think it's important. It's so easy to get like, oh, check this out, that's dope, or this is cool, or that's neat, or this is impressive or this is inspiring. And it's like, let's live a legacy of inspiration, and leave that on the road.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And so thinking about these top 5, Kit, I'm just kind of going through my mind real quick here on what I would consider my top 5, right? Obviously family's up there. That's number 1.
Yeah.
I'm a religious guy, so God's going to be number 2. I got to take care of my responsibilities, so that's going to be number 3. I got to take care of myself, so riding and spending time doing throttle therapy or taking the car out to the track, whatever it is that we're doing, right? There you go, self-care, number 4. And maybe my list is a little empty right now. I don't know. Number 5, making sure we're here at the podcast, man, and sending this stuff out to help as many people as we can, right? With, coming from somebody who doesn't know Jack, we're just talking about it.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? These are our experiences, man. I've lived 5 lives, it feels like, at 50 and had a lot of experiences. My experiences might be different than someone else's, but if they're anywhat, and your experiences, and if they're any way relatable or anything that we say that lifts someone else, and that's why I'm excited to get to our next episode. We're not going to announce it yet, but our next series of episodes, because we can learn from other people.
Yes.
Right?
We need to.
And it's like, I think sometimes when you listen to some people, they get almost like, do this, do that. It's like, dude, we're not saying do nothing, right? We're saying, hey, this worked for us, and maybe it works for you. Maybe a little bit of it does, maybe it doesn't, right? Because everyone's so different. There's no one size fits all. Nope. I go crazy when you see these people selling these programs like, this is, if you do this step by step, this is what it takes to be successful. No, that's what it took for you to be successful.
Yeah.
What does it take for the general audience? Well, if there's 3,000 people in the audience, there's 3,000 different ways to skin that cat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so you got to be willing to take some of the stuff that you hear and embody it, personalize it, right? And make it work for you.
Yeah.
Right?
I think mix it with your roots.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Mix it with your roots.
Yeah. What works for you? It doesn't work for everybody, right? But your priorities start to matter when you realize you've only got a few hours a day. And so those small things, when you interact with the kiddos or something at breakfast or at dinner or at one of their events, are precious. Yeah. So it puts a capital P on priority right away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing we have to realize too is, we talk about roots, right? And roots are part of what? Part of a tree, right? Yeah. And a tree doesn't grow overnight, right?
No.
A tree takes time.
Yep.
And I think we got to realize that with ourselves, right? Because we sink our roots deep, we try and grow, we become better tomorrow than we are today, and that's time, right? And so investing that time into yourself to become whoever it is that you want, and then also to go back to kind of what you were saying is everybody's individual and, 3,000 ways to skin a cat. Well, not every tree grows in the same soil, dude. You're not going to see a palm tree on top of a mountain.
No.
You're going to see
the snow.
Yeah, or in the snow, right? So, it is, everybody's got their own way. Some people take more time than others, right? Yeah. But, that is a good use of your time, right? Because you don't have a lot of it is what we're getting down to.
No matter how you dice it up, no matter what your job requirements are or responsibilities are, do the math. I challenge you to do the math because it's important. One weekend I was bored and I was doing the math and I'm like, frick, man, I'm never going to say no. And as hard as it is to say, that's my therapy. My kids say, hey, Dad, I know you grinded it out and did 16 hours a day, but we really want to hit the lake. I'll be like, me too.
Go. Yeah,
me too. I'm like, you guys go hook up the boat, uncover it, and I'm going to, wipe my eyes and we'll roll.
Yeah.
And did I ever get in? No. Did I get a ski? No. But you know what? Those 2 boys and their 2 friends, if they got tightrope and they had fun and those are experiences you share together whether you get a turn or not.
Yeah. And they'll remember them.
Yeah.
They remember them.
Absolutely.
They remember the times you say yes, and they certainly remember the times you say no.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's okay to say no, but when it comes to the kids, man, try to limit those.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's a pretty good message for today, don't you think?
It's a great message. It falls in line and enhances every other part of your life. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome, Neck Nation. We'll make sure we're prioritizing our lives because we don't have a ton of time, right? Make sure you're doing those things that are also going to give back to you. and make you better tomorrow than you are today. So we'll leave you with that message. Be sure to like and share this video. Share it on your social media. Share it with your friends, your family. Let's get more people listening and get this message out to everybody. But check us out on Facebook, on Instagram. Like I said, I'm going to be doing some racing here pretty soon, so we'll have some posts on that, some dirt bikes, some racing posts.
Bro, and you got the stickers going on the truck and the race trailer. I mean, bro, it's going to be dope. I can't wait.
Represent. So
dust them, man.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Neck Nation. We'll leave you with that. Bless up.
Bless up. Thanks.